Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 6 of 2020. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by mybookie.ag. For a 200% sign-up bonus, please visit MyBookie and use the promo code TheOddsBreakers. Terms, conditions, and location apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs and sponsor the website and podcast, we'd love to help you out. Please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. For $24.99 a month, you can get my plays and premium plays before the line moves. If nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber, or just a free subscriber to get our free subscriber plays. My friends, we have a great show for you today because Mr. Kyle Hunter from Hunter Sports Picks is going to come on to break down the NFL as well as college basketball for the weekend. Very, very excited to get Kyle on. Before Kyle comes on, though, I'm going to go over a listener question and some regression analysis. First, the listener question from Chris in Iowa. He is in a pretty good position right now because he bet $44 that Tampa Bay will be facing Buffalo in the Super Bowl. That pays $1,000, right? So, huge return if that happens. I mean, unfortunately, they have to play the Packers and the Chiefs. So he was kind of wondering what to do. There's a lot of things you can do, obviously, and lots of ways you can hedge this bet. I mean, do you really think that Tampa is going to beat Green Bay? Do you really think Buffalo is going to beat Kansas City? I mean, if that's the case, you want to leave some more money on the fat end of that 1,000, right? But the way I do it and do it for listeners is doing a max profit analysis, right? So you can maximize profit and guarantee a certain amount of money if you play it a certain way, right? So it's important to do that so kind of you know where you're at, and it's still going to be a decent return for the $44 that you invested. I mean, looking at the circumstances, the Packers minus 190, the Chiefs minus 125-ish is kind of the numbers he gave me. So that's what I'm going to go by, but you can adjust those numbers as you go. So first of all, your $44 is a sunk cost. So you have to add that to the $1,000. Your payout is $1,044. It doesn't matter. You have to use those numbers because no matter what, that 44 is gone, and we're trying to maximize our payout here with these two bets. You're hedging both sides of this, obviously, because you have to hedge Green Bay by betting Green Bay, and if you hedge on Kansas City. But both of them are favorites, making it a little bit more challenging. Now, this would look a lot sweeter if they weren't favorites, right? I mean, this would look a lot sweeter if they were the dogs and Tampa Bay and Buffalo were the favorites. You'd be able to make a lot more money from this. But the function or equation is you have to figure out how much am I betting here. You know, there's a rate, the minus 190, plus how much am I betting here to make that bet back because I lost it, and to make the same amount of profit. And you're going to find out you want to get that equal profit, so add that to plus whatever that is to equal 1,044. So literally, it's 1.9x because you're minus 190. That's how much you're betting to get your X, right? X is going to be equal. And then you're going to add that to, well, 1.9x plus X because you already lost your 1.9x and you have to add X back in brackets, multiply that by 1.25 because that's the factor, right? That's the factor of the Chiefs game. So 1.25 times the 1.9x that you lost plus the X in brackets, okay? And then you have to add the final X because you're not trying to, make $0. Obviously, if you lose your last leg of the bet, you want to make equal money no matter what. 1.9x plus 1.25 times 1.9x plus x in brackets plus x equals 144 or 1,044. So you figure that equation out. 6.525x equals 1,044. X equals $160. So you can guarantee yourself $160 no matter what at these numbers. So basically, for 160 at minus 190, just take 160 times 1.9, you're betting $304. If the Packers win, you lose your $44 bet, you get paid 160, and then you profit 160 minus 44, which is $116. So, that's the profit you make, but you're getting paid back the 160. Now, obviously, if that leg loses, then you have to make up for the bet. You're betting the 1.25 times 1.9x plus x in brackets, which comes up to $580, right? You bet 580 at minus 125, you get paid for 464. If you minus out the 304 you already bet, you have $160. Obviously, if both bets lose, 1,044 minus the 580 you bet minus the 304 equals 160. So no matter what, that is the equation to maximize profit in this situation. If you have any questions, please feel free to tweet us at the Odds Breakers. All right, time for a little bit of college basketball betting spots, and we're looking for some regression analysis here. First one we're going to start with is shooting percentage. The last game, they would have to shoot over 52% and average under 44%, right? So looking at this and the numbers, Alabama, they shot 55.9% their last game. They only averaged 43.7%. They could regress. They play very fast, though. Remember that Southern, 55.7% and 42.4% is what they average, so they could regress. Gardner-Webb, 55.4%. They average 43.3%. Southeast Louisiana, they shot 54.2%. They only averaged 38.1%. There's a regression candidate for you. LIU, 54.2% they shot, and they only averaged 43%. Jacksonville State, they shot 53.6% their last game. They actually face Murray State tonight, and they only average 42.9%. Oral Roberts, they shot 52.9%, and they averaged 43.3%. Arkansas State, they shot 52.6%, and they only averaged 41.3%. North Carolina Greensboro shot 52.1%, and they only averaged 41.3%. Delaware, 52%, they only averaged 42.2%. So there's your threshold for that. Let's look on the opposite side of this thing. We're looking for teams that shot poorly that average over 46%. Okay? So they had to shoot under 38 and average over 46. Because there's, almost a third of the teams probably average over 46% good shooting teams. There's less of these. Mississippi State shot only 34.6%, and they average 46% on the dot. Furman only shot 37%, and they average 49.5%. They're a good candidate to bet on possibly next game. Of course, you have to handicap the full game. Next one, Rutgers, 37.3%. They average 46%. Wright State, 37.5%, and they average 47.8%. Bryant, 37.5%. They average 46%. Alabama A&M shot 37.5%. They average 46.2%. And LSU only shot 37.8% in their loss, and they averaged 48%. That's a pretty good one right there for LSU. So that's all we have for that category. We're going to move into opponent free throw percent. These guys shot out of their minds under the free throw line. South Alabama, opponent shot 90% their last 3 games. North Carolina, their opponent shot 87.5%. Southern Illinois, their opponent shot 86.5%. Louisiana Tech, 86.5%. Charlotte, opponent shot 85.7%. Nebraska Omaha, opponent shot 85.5%. And Southern Utah, opponent shot 85.4%. Pretty high free throw percentage for the teams that they faced. Maybe some value on those teams going forward. We're going to look at the other side of the coin here. Opponents that shot terrible free throws. UMass, their opponents only shot 46.7% the last 3 games. Oklahoma, their opponents only shot 47.6% from the line. Wisconsin, their opponents only shot 50% from the line. Wisconsin had to have benefited pretty well from that, especially during that Rutgers game that was pretty close until the end here. St. Bonaventure, opponents only shot 53.3%. Eastern Michigan, 53.7% opponents only shot. And Morehead State, 53.7%. Let's move on to 3-point percentage. Opponents shooting out of their minds the last 3 games is kind of what we'd like to look at. Southern Illinois, 54.7% opponents shot, and they average about 40% stopping the 3, right? Clemson, this has been a pretty bad one. Their last 2 losses against Virginia, and one I was on actually yesterday and lost that one. Georgia Tech, 52.8% opponents are shooting. Now, Clemson's not guarding the line that well, but I wonder if they wake up and do it because they have their next game against Florida State here. Clemson normally stopping them to 36% here. Wisconsin Green Bay, 50.7% to 35%. Cal Baptist, 50% to 36.3% is what they normally stop it at. So those are some pretty high rates. And that's where I'm going to stop it. Let's go to teams that shot out of their minds from 3, their last 3 games. You have IPFW shot 54.5%. They averaged 43.9%. So they average pretty well. Florida State has been shooting 52.7% from 3, and they only average 38.6%. So this is interesting. They're going to play Clemson. Clemson has normally guarded the 3 well, except for the last 3 games. And Florida State normally doesn't shoot the 3 as well, except for the last 3 games. This could be a regression point and possibly some value on Clemson right here. If they can actually guard the line, of course, right? I think they will after these next 2 games. Southern, 50.9% they shot the last 3, and they average only 34.6%. Detroit, 50%, and they only average 35.9%. And Louisiana, Lafayette, 46.4% they shot, and they only average 32%. So those are some of your regression candidates here. If you'd like me to add any other categories to this, please feel free to DM us or tweet us at the Odds Breakers. Without further ado, let's get on our guy, Mr. Kyle Hunter from Hunter Sports Picks. Now I'm excited to welcome back an amazing handicapper, great friend of the show. You know him as Mr. Kyle Hunter from HunterSportsPicks.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Kyle Hunter Picks. Kyle, football is winding down, but basketball is in full force, man. How's your week been treating you?
Going all right, man. Thanks for having me back on the show. Always great to be on here. I love college basketball just as much as anything. I'd say college basketball and college football are my 2 favorite. And you and I have kind of talked about this before. I think if you ask me at one point, I might say college football is my favorite, and at another point, college basketball. So I'll call it a tie. But college football, hate that it's over, but college basketball is in full swing. And now we've got couple real nice NFL games here this week. I think, I'm as a fan, I'm pretty excited about these games. I think, some very deserving teams are in these spots.
Well, for sure. And, you look at just like I said on the previous podcast, the quarterbacks, the coaches, right? I mean, you think about it, it's like, wait a second, what's so surprising here about these teams? Unfortunately, did you really get a ton of value on the Packers if you're going to bet a future on them this year? Did you get a ton of value on Kansas City when you bet a future? Did you get a ton of value on Tom Brady when you bet a future? So maybe the Bills were for a little bit in the beginning, but a lot of people were on them. So it was somewhat predictable that these teams were going to be in there. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree that, futures value-wise, there wasn't a ton to be had. I know a lot of people took Tampa Bay. That was a popular one for the public when Tom Brady went there. I don't think it was a great price, but, some of the people who took Tampa Bay when it was rumored that he might be going to Tampa Bay probably did pretty well. But, after Brady was announced to be there, the line obviously changed a lot. And, I think that we have two games that should be highly competitive, and I'm looking forward to them.
Well, I was one of those people that took it when there was rumors that Tampa Bay was.
There you go.
And I took it personal, and I put a very small amount on it, like $20. And it was at 10-1 that they were going to win the NFC Championship, right? So, I mean, I don't even think I'm going to hedge it. It's a small play. Who cares? But if they win, it'd be cool. You get $200. But I just grabbed it because I knew that the line was going to go down. It was just kind of like, I'm going to grab this future that might not happen, but I just know I'm going to have value on it. Well, I'm actually surprised that they made it this far still, because I still think the Saints were the better team. But I 10-1 to get into with Tom Brady. Never too bad of a bet, right? And they definitely have a lot of weapons. So we'll see what happens. But we're going to break it down a little bit. And is there any weather that we need to worry about for these games or trends?
Weather is a bit of a question mark for these games, and it's the number one reason I haven't bet on these two games so far. We'll break it down and give our thoughts, but obviously these are weather dependent. The Green Bay game, look, I think everybody knows it's going to be pretty cold in Green Bay this time of the year. I mean, you get late January in Green Bay, it's going to be cold. It's 24 degrees is about the average temperature during that game, 9 or 10 miles per hour wind. So some chances of snow at some point in the day. It looks like it probably won't be while the game's going on, but I wouldn't want to bet on that yet. So that's why I've waited to see. Kansas City game, Buffalo, Kansas City, a little bit of wind, 12 miles per hour, 35 degrees. Nothing that stands out as looking like it will be extreme weather at this point, but both Kansas City and Green Bay are very capable of having bad weather this time of the year. So, I haven't wanted to bet anything really quick, largely because of that. But for the time being, it doesn't look drastic, but we'll see if that changes. Okay,
well, there you go. And I checked, of course, too. Nothing could be snowing in Green Bay. It could be a little wet in Kansas City is what I saw. I don't think you'll get snow in Kansas City, but freezing rain isn't a lot of fun. No. I would expect that it wouldn't be a downpour or anything. Otherwise, it'd be maybe something a little bit bigger. But you know how the weather is. It just changes as the wind blows, right? For a saying. So keep monitoring on that. And, sometimes you grab a total and you can always go the other way if the weather goes south on you, obviously. But any trends that we should be looking at for these games?
I do have a couple good angles here for you. When we're looking at these playoff games, taking the underdog, if you're fading a team that's been really good, ATS has been good in the regular season. A team that's been good in the regular season, fading that team and taking an underdog on the other side. So in this case, that would mean taking Tampa Bay against Green Bay. Now, we'll talk about that game here in a minute, and I don't like Tampa Bay against Green Bay, honestly. But I think some of these trends are probably why we've seen the line move the way it has, because these trends are fairly accessible, especially through the BetLabs database. Quite a few people see those. And if you take an underdog of any kind against a team that has covered more than half their games on the year, which Green Bay has, you're 55% in the playoffs. So over the long run, it's a pretty big sample size. 55%, I promise you, is a really good number in the NFL. The NFL is it's a hard market to beat consistently. So if you can get 55%, you're doing really well. I think that's a pretty good one. The one that I like even better, though, is cold weather overs. So Green Bay, it's going to be very cold. You get a temperature below 30 degrees, so you have to be 29 degrees or colder. The over has done really well. And that's seems kind of counterintuitive to what a lot of people would think, because a lot of people say, oh, it's cold, maybe I should take the under. But a lot of times we see depressed totals because of that, and then they go over the number. But here's the number for you. As long as they're not division games, which they're not a division game here, obviously. This is regular season or postseason. 29 degrees or lower. The over is 71 and 31. So 70%, 69.6% to the over. And the one that fits here is the Green Bay game. So pretty interesting one there.
Well, that's very interesting. And I can see the non-division factor, because division teams know each other. They in and out. And that's when you kind of lean towards the under anyway. So interesting. Like that one, man. Well, let's get right into the game then. I'll start with you. Green Bay minus 3.5-ish. I mean, I've seen some juice threes. It's funny, when I first started podcasting about this stuff this week, it was -4. I mean, it's really all over the board between 3 and 4. The total is about 51, though, solid. What's your thoughts on this big game?
Okay, so this game is really interesting to me, because I know Tampa Bay has been pretty impressive. And, if you look at Tampa Bay, they're a really solid run defense. They're not a good pass defense. And we all saw last week's game, and Drew Brees made the Tampa Bay pass defense look good. And the question here is, was Tampa Bay's pass defense actually improved, or was that more about Drew Brees just not being good? He couldn't throw the ball more than 10 yards, and 10 yards was a stretch at some times. So, the accuracy was just really poor. I really don't think that same thing's going to happen with Green Bay. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is on a different level from Drew Brees, especially at this point in his career. Rodgers is going to throw the ball downfield. Tampa Bay's defense really cheated up against New Orleans. They could do that and be very aggressive and not worry about the deep ball. They do that here, and they're in trouble. Green Bay will take advantage of that. The other thing is Devontae Adams. You could make an argument he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's certainly one of the best. Tampa Bay, a secondary that is not very deep. And Green Bay does have some other options. If they try to double up on Adams, the tight end could be open in the middle of the field. Aaron Rodgers likes throwing to the tight end, certainly. I really think Green Bay is going to score points in this game. So then you look at it from the other side and you say, is Tampa Bay going to score enough to where they can cover or get us an over, if you like the over? I think Tampa Bay will score points. I don't know that they can cover the spread. My lean here is Green Bay minus the points. Now, I see -3, -125, -124, -3.5 regular, +100, something like that. So, honestly, I would love to see a -3, -115 or something like that to take Green Bay. I hate taking a -125. You're just paying so much juice. I haven't bet this game, like I said. My strongest lean in this game, though, is the over. I do think the over could be a good play. I think this one's a little bit too low, as long as the weather's okay here. And I'm waiting that one out a little bit. And I do see the over is getting juiced a little bit to 51, -115, and some 51.5s out there. So you've lost a little bit of value, because I think 50.5 was the lowest number here. 51 has been pretty consistent through most of the week. But honestly, I think Green Bay is good for 28, 31 points here. So the question is, Tampa Bay going to score enough to cover the spread or get us an over? Like I said, I think Tampa Bay is a pretty cautious team with their play calling, and they were able to do that last week. A lot of runs with Fournette, right? I don't think Fournette is really that good of a running back, and Green Bay's run defense is not great, but I don't think that Tampa Bay just wants to run Fournette all the time. I don't think they can keep up with Green Bay in this game. Green Bay is going to be aggressive on offense. I expect they'll throw it quite a bit. So if Tampa Bay gets behind and gets more aggressive with their play calling, let's remember Tampa Bay has some amazing weapons. I mean, I don't know who has better weapons in the pass game than does Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has several guys who are very good. Even Tyler Johnson making some really nice plays last week. We know he was good at Minnesota. Tampa Bay is very, very loaded at wide receiver and tight end, and just a very good team with pass-catching weapons. I do think that if Tampa Bay gets behind, it really sets up well for an over here. So if we get a Green Bay lead, even if you didn't take a pre-flop position here in this game, I think taking a live over would make a lot of sense in this game, or a second half over. Green Bay does give up some points in that prevent defense, and Tampa Bay, if they get aggressive, I think can do more on offense. So I like the over in this game, and if Green Bay gets ahead, we might get a great chance at a live over here.
All right, man. Great breakdown. Absolutely. And I didn't know that trend was so big for the over here. That's a great one that you found. And I was looking that direction as well. I also like Green Bay in the first half. And so I think that correlates with what you're saying. Yep. I think, if Tampa's on their heels, they're going to be throwing to all their weapons. You got Scotty Miller there. You got Antonio Brown demanding a lot of attention. And, of course, Evans and Godwin. Heck, if Godwin can catch one of those passes that Brady's been throwing, they might have put up more points last week. And thank God with Breeze's interceptions, our under still went through there. But at the same time, Fournette, I think he's going to have to catch the ball a lot, and if they start running him, they better do it early because Green Bay is going to try to jump them and get up, just like what LaFleur does to other teams. They're going to jump them, and I like that, the -2.5 there. Green Bay, lots of different ways that they can come ahead. They have the best home field in football, in my opinion, especially this time of year. So that's a good one. I actually did like Green Bay at -3.5. So I took it there as pre-flop. I didn't know it'd go down. I was shocked it did. Heck, you saw a lot of people that we respect on Twitter say, if you like Green Bay, grab it now. Well, everyone was wrong about that. And I obviously have a little, if Green Bay covers and my Tampa Bay 10-1 loses, there you go. It's not a huge bet by any means, but for me, I really do think Green Bay wins by more than 3 because my number is more like 5.5. It's 6. Tampa's only chance is getting to Aaron Rodgers, and they are a good blitz team. Number 4 in sacks, number 3 in pressure rate. So I do like that. Tampa's got that shot, but Rodgers has just been so good against the blitz. He knows who's coming at him, and he's throwing that direction to the guy that's going to be open in that area. And his guys know what kind of hot route to run when those blitzes are coming. Green Bay's buttoned up. They're extremely just sharp this year. So I think Green Bay's going to put them on their heels a little bit, and then in the fourth quarter, you might see a little bit of a Brady Rodgers highlight show. Remember the AFC Championship game a couple years back when it was Mahomes versus Brady, and it went overtime. Holy cow, did that fourth quarter have some fireworks in it, Even though it's going to be cold, there's a chance that you can have that, and I think that would make this game a lot of fun, which certainly correlates with your over. As I said before, I like the Packers secondary. I like them a lot. Jari Alexander over there, King and Jackson, and I think it's going to force them to throw into the flat a little bit. I think if Leonard Fournette's going to get some receiving yards, so I'm looking at him as a prop. I'm looking at Robert Tonyan to get some a touchdown as well because he actually has 11 through the season. So as discussed before, I think we're kind of on the same side. Kyle, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I like your first half play on Green Bay. In fact, I think I'll bet that myself. So I like you bringing that one up. I hadn't really thought of the first half, but Green Bay is a great first half team. LaFleur really is good, especially first quarter, second quarter. There's scripted game breakdowns. He's done so well. I don't think Tampa Bay can stop Green Bay through the air here. I think some people have some false sense of security based on Tampa Bay slowing down the New Orleans offense last week, and this is just a very different challenge. And I think Green Bay scores pretty easily here, so I like that -2.5 in the first half. So I like both Green Bay first half and the over here.
I appreciate it, man. Good stuff. Let's move on to the next huge game, Buffalo versus Kansas City. Kansas City's around, well, I mean, you could have got this thing at -3, no juice, +100. I've even seen a few -2.5s that I might have snuck a personal play on that. I didn't give it out because I just didn't see it at enough books, especially for such big of a game. But I did give out -3 +100. Well, that thing's more like what, -120 right now, -115 on some books. So, the news about Mahomes is what I expected, pretty much. I expected Mahomes to play, most likely. Now, he's not announced to play, but I'd be shocked if this caliber of game is not going to have Mahomes in it. They're not going to give up a whole NFL year unless the dude was really that hurt. The way he ran from the sidelines to the locker room, the way he's been tweeting after that game, doesn't make me feel like he was down and out or hurt in any way, shape, or form. They're being careful with him because if he doesn't, obviously he'll get destroyed by the media and other things. They're trying to probably even keep it a little hush-hush to keep the Bills wondering, but I think there's no chance that he doesn't play this game. On the other end of the spectrum, when these two teams played, Edwards-Helaire had 161 yards, and they ran the clock out. This thing went under. Chiefs won 26-17. And the Chiefs, covered, and that was probably one of their last covers of the year because they haven't been really winning for a lot. They just keep getting backdoored. But, the question is, with Edwards-Helaire out, can Darren Williams really step right in? I mean, he had a lot last week. Is Le'Veon Bell going to show up? I don't know. But I think that's going to force some more throws if Helaire's still banged up there. So, I mean, I looked at the over right away, 53.5, and it's going to go up. I think it's probably going to go up to 55 or something like that. I'll consider a buyback. I'm not as in love with it as I was before, just because the spot's so big. But I mean, at the same time, you have two of the best offenses in football. I think both of them are in the top 4, right? Something like that. Just depends upon what stats and what efficiency rankings you're looking at. And you have two defenses that are just average, So, I mean, in this caliber of a game, the fourth quarter also looks like it could be some fireworks. But, Adam got me thinking that there might be a little bit slow start as well. So I would consider a first half under. And you wonder if Josh Allen doesn't want to make too many mistakes. I think he's going to take off and run the ball. I am going to play a prop on Josh Allen's rushing yards because I think he's not going to want to turn it over. He's going to be extra cautious. In the last game that these guys played, Josh Allen had 8 rushes for 42 yards. So I'm looking at that prop. But at the same time, I'm happy with my Chiefs -3. I don't like the first half, because Buffalo starts so good in the first half all year long. That could happen again. You've seen that happen when they played the Chiefs played the 49ers in the Super Bowl. So I'm not going down that route. But right now, I'm invested in the -3, and I'm invested in the over 53.5. Now, I think that if you can get the Chiefs at -3, I still think that's going to go up because my numbers and my power numbers say this is a 5.5 point spread. I have the Chiefs as the best team in my power ratings. The Bills have certainly caught up some, but they haven't caught up that much here. The Chiefs are at home, I'm happy with my -3. Now, my heart, I want the Bills to win this. I love the city of Buffalo. I've been there. People are great. Had a blast there. Just such a kind-hearted, blue-collar type city. The fans are just absolutely nuts. The Bills Mafia is so fun. I have friends that are Bills fans. I really want them to win. But my brain says to bet Kansas City anytime you can get a 3, especially at home. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't like this game as much as the other one from betting value standpoint. I will say that I agree with you that it's hard not to root for Buffalo in a game like this, right? Those fans have been great even when this team wasn't good, and I'd love to see Buffalo win one. And I can't help but think of the 4 teams left as a fan, Buffalo's the team that I'd most want to win it. Having said that, Buffalo definitely has a tough route. Even if they win this game, they're going to have to play another really good team. So in this one, I think that Kansas City is likely to go up based on the fact that the look-ahead line for this game was -5, -5.5 some places. Mm-hmm. So we're getting a discount because there's some chance somebody thinks that Mahomes won't play. Like you, I think the chances of him playing are 90-something%. It's going to be really surprising if he doesn't. So if you like Kansas City, you want to bet it now. If you like Buffalo, you probably want to wait. I tend to kind of think I like the over a little bit here, but I'm not sure I'm going to bet it. This is an awfully high total for such an important game, like you mentioned. I hate taking over 54s in the NFL in a game that tries to get you to the Super Bowl. Having said that, what's Buffalo's game plan going to be here? Because Buffalo can't just run the ball and play keep away. Buffalo can't run. Buffalo is not a good running team. Kansas City's weakness is stopping the run, but Buffalo really can't run the ball. And without Moss, they're really not very good at running the ball. So Kansas City's defense is decent against the pass, which would make you think that maybe Kansas City has a chance here to cover the spread. If you get -3 at a fair price, there are still some -3, -110s available, -115 in some places. I don't think that'll be there if you wait for right before the game. I think we might see a -4, something like that. And look, we know there's a big difference between -3 and -4 in football. There's a lot of games that land on 3. There's a lot of games that land on 4 too. So you want to try to do the best you can to get the best number here. I will point out that the referee crew for this one, Bill Vinovich is the lead official in this one. His crew, the under is 68-47, so 59.1%. I don't know how much stock to put into that, to be honest with you. This is not like Major League Baseball when you're calling balls and strikes or something behind the plate. Over-unders in the NFL with a ref crew, I don't put too much stock into it. Boger's crew has always been a great over one. Vinovich is a good under ref, but I wouldn't want to bet it solely on that. I just wanted to pass along that information. I have a slight lean to the over here. I think I lean your way on Kansas City, but I also wouldn't be stunned to see Buffalo win outright. So, it's one of those where I don't have any strong opinion on the side.
All right, but that's some great information about the ref. And what does worry me is Buffalo's rush defense is so poor. Maybe the Chiefs just pound the ball most of the game, which is obviously favors the under, by a lot. Unless they're getting seriously 5 to 15 yard chunks every time they're running the ball, you're looking towards the under. So that does give me pause, and that's why I said I might buy back. I do have the 53.5, so I am a little bit under that number. But going back upon what you said at the -3, if you can still get -3, -110, taking -3 and betting back the exact amount on -4 is not a bad idea, and it is a positive EV play because it goes past the 5 percentage points, the 4.55 really, and out of 100 times, as long as you go past the 4.55, it becomes a play. Right. So if you really don't care and we just want to get cute and have some action and try to get some middles, maybe that thing could land on a 3 or a 4. This thing could be 30-27. This thing could be 27-24. Right. Very possible. And that could be a little bit of fun. So that part of the reason why I grabbed that 3. Obviously, Kansas City should be favored, but I could be buying back for half. I can be talked into that if this thing gets a little high, Kyle. So I'm excited for it, and I'm definitely going to be betting the Josh Allen prop. I think he's going to get a few rushing yards. Any final thoughts on this game or this NFL this weekend, bud?
No, I like the Packers game better from the betting standpoint, but I'm looking forward to both of these as a fan, and I'm excited to talk some college basketball too.
All right, well then let's get into college basketball and a game that's more right up your alley. We're looking at the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference here, Niagara versus Quinnipiac, and Quinnipiac's going to be about -1-ish. The total on this is 131. Kyle, I'd like to hear what you have to say about this one.
Yeah, I like this game. I love games like this. If you've followed me in the past, like I know a lot of your listeners have followed me probably for quite a few years now, I love these under the radar games. Niagara and Quinnipiac is right up my alley. I think that this game is interesting because the total is going to be pretty low. Like you said, Ken Pomeroy has this game at 131. Haslametrics has this game at 130. I'm not sure what Bart Torvik has this game at, but I assume it's going to come out about 130, 130 and a half, 131, somewhere in that range. So having said that, I kind of like the over in this game because Quinnipiac, look at their defense so far this year. Their defense looks like it's really good. If you look at their defense, they're only giving up 39.1% from 2-point range, which is first in the country. Now, do we think that Quinnipiac has all at once become one of the best defenses in the country after they were really weak last year? They were 300th in defensive efficiency last year. They're going to make a massive jump. Well, they've faced some really bad offenses. You look at who they've played so far. Manhattan is about the worst offense you could get. Drexel, not a good offense. New Hampshire, Fairleigh Dickinson. I mean, stop me if you hear a good offense because I haven't heard of one. And Monmouth again. So they haven't faced a good offense yet. Niagara has been not shooting as well as they did last year. I think that they're due for some positive regression on offense. I see this as a game where if you get a total of 130 or so, I think you could take a low over. I like the over in this game. This will possibly be a play of my own, depending on what the price comes out at. It's one that I'm certainly going to consider because you get a total as low as 130. All it takes is one run of scoring quite a few points or some fouling at the end or something like that, and it gets over the total. It's easy to play a lower over like that. Both of these teams shoot the ball well from the free throw line. Both of them have been, pretty decent at getting to the free throw line as well. So I think that's a pretty important point here. As far as the side, I don't have any strong opinion here. I think I would probably slightly lean toward Niagara, especially if you can get them plus the points in this one. I think Quinnipiac is due for regression overall. Like I said, Quinnipiac is a team to me that is not even close to as good on defense as if you go look on Ken Pomeroy's site. It looks like their defense is amazing. I don't think it's going to stay that way, so I think I want to bet against that.
Interesting here. So the total is kind of what you're looking at?
Yeah, I like the over the best here.
All right. So I think it's important to bring up these teams because without the Ivy League playing on Friday, these are the teams that are going to be playing mostly on Fridays. You see them all the time, right? They play a lot of back-to-backs too. And the Metro Atlantic Conference is kind of something that I, over the years, just paid more attention to because a lot of the big teams aren't playing on Friday. You might get one game from them or something like that, but they're all saving up for the big Saturday, for the ratings, for the weekend. People want to see college basketball. One thing interesting, and I don't know why this is, but it still seems to be kind of continuing into this year, is home teams are 103, 83, and 7 since 2019 in this conference, which is, 54%, a little bit over. That's not huge, but it's something to look at. And I kind of noticed that just watching this conference over the last couple years. And Quinnipiac itself is 3-1 ATS at home so far. So I looked at Niagara on the road. I know since 2019 they're 12-15, which isn't huge either, but something to look at. But you're calling out Quinnipiac, and I don't disagree. I think that their defense might be a little bit overstated there, and that probably makes me lean towards the towards the over. But I'd like to fade Niagara here. And their best win was against number 245 Albany on Ken Pom, and they lost some stinkers, to teams like Ryder. They lost 2 to Manhattan. I know Quinnipiac got 1 overtime win against Manhattan, but Baker Dunleavy, who does coach the Bobcats, he's he's just got a great basketball background. You probably remember his dad, Mike Dunleavy, in the NBA. I remember him as a Bucks coach, and they just have such a basketball family, and I expect Quinnipiac to keep improving here. They don't have a good offense at all, but I guess I would call their defense at least solid, that it ranks number 2 in the conference. And even though it's a little bit overrated here, another thing I looked at is Quinnipiac has done well the first game of each conference series. They have that nice win against Manhattan. It did take overtime, but they also took Monmouth to overtime, and they might not even covered, but at least they went to overtime. It was a bad beat if you bet them. Niagara themselves, 1-4 against the spread the first game of the series this year. Okay, out of the 5 chances, only 1-4. I think Niagara kind of gets somewhere, and they're not good until the next game. So I'm going to have a small play on Quinnipiac at the -1. I'm not going to take it at -3, but like you said, if it gets to -3, my lean changes to Niagara. I'll take the -1 here, though, for 1.5 stars. Just a small play, Kyle. Any final thoughts?
All right, so I like the over, and you like Quinnipiac. I think that's a good point about the first game of the series. I like that point because these back-to-backs are very unique. These teams are not used to playing each other back-to-back. Maybe Quinnipiac is ready for the first game a little bit better than they are the second. So if you see Quinnipiac blow out Niagara in the first game, maybe Niagara is a good play in the second game. But, I think that was a good point. I like the over here. Quinnipiac plays fast enough that I think if you can get a 130 and a half, something like that, the over is a good play.
All right, well, there you go. Let's move on to a little bit bigger of a game, Kyle. The conference that I specialize in here, Michigan versus Purdue. Purdue's +3. The total is going to be 138. And I know Ken Palm's got like +1 or +2. People are going to bet Michigan. It's going to be 3. I mean, if you can, and I'll tell you right now, I'm going towards Michigan here. If you like Michigan, then it'd be great if you can get them under the 3. But this is going to be a great matchup for Friday. And Michigan, probably the best team in the Big Ten next to Iowa. I had Illinois up there before, but Illinois' forwards have really flawed out on me. I think Benzamishvili, Georgie over there, he's just not doing it. And their defense is poor, except for Cockburn, right? And so, this isn't about Illinois, but I just want to say that Michigan and Iowa are probably now the top 2 teams, and Purdue's kind of the hottest team right now. But I don't want to call them a top 3 team yet. And they ripped 4 wins in a row against Michigan State, Indiana, Penn State, and Ohio State. Well, we know Michigan State's kind of fraudulent. We know Indiana is up and down. We know Penn State is very fraudulent. And Ohio State, they've been hot too, but I was impressed by that game. I will say that I was impressed. They came in as a dog here. Well, Purdue, they have a few big guys. Travion Williams, obviously 6'10", he's been there forever, and 7'4" freshman Zach Edney. You would think that they stuff people down low in the paint, but in reality, they give up 36 percentage points in the paint. They give up a decent amount of points in the paint. Actually, sorry, it's more than that. It's 66%, I believe. I'll double check that. But Michigan, they're a top scorer in the paint. 71% of their points are in the paint, and they have a few big guys themselves, Kyle. 6'10" Austin Davis is a senior, and a 7'1" freshman Hunter Dickinson has been a real surprise. He plays 63% of the minutes. And if you look at Zach Edney, he's only playing about 35 to 36% of the minutes. And then so without him, you just have Travion Williams. Both teams, same weakness in turning the ball over. Purdue ranking 13th worst in the Big Ten at 18.7% turnover rate in conference play, and Michigan ranking 14th in conference play at 19.2%, right? Besides down low, Michigan shoots the ball better than Purdue by a decent amount. They rank 9th in effective field goal percentage at 58.2, while Purdue ranks 76th at 52.5. Even on defense, Michigan ranks better than Purdue. And I have to think, Kyle, that Michigan is still reeling over that Minnesota defeat. That was the last time they were on the road. They're probably, obviously can't get in these players' heads, but they know that there's a chance that they can blow this game, and I think they're going to have their game when they come and play Purdue. Purdue, they have some kids that are stepping up, like Ivy, obviously, and Edney, Travion Williams, but I think that Michigan covers this, and I think they're going to win by margin because Michigan does win by margin. When they win, they're just blowing teams out. I'm going with Michigan here, and I want to see your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I mean, I hope this line comes out at 2 like Ken Palm has it at, right? Because if Michigan is -2, then it's a good bet here. Michigan's clearly a better team than is Purdue. I don't love betting teams on the road in the Big Ten. We know home teams are pretty strong in the Big Ten in most seasons. I know this season's a bit different with less of a home court advantage, but the Big Ten's always been one of the better ones for home teams. Having said that, I think Michigan's a clear couple notches better than Purdue. Michigan's Hunter Dickinson has been tremendous. I mean, this guy has been really good. I don't think anybody thought he'd be this good. From 2-point range, he is 83 for 115 this year, 72.2%. This is a guy that is so efficient in the paint. He is a good shot blocker on defense, a great rebounder. I think, you could certainly make an argument he's the best player in this game, and he's a freshman. Michigan has several very good players. As a Buckeyes fan, it kind of pains me to say so many positive things about Michigan right now. I mean, it's more of a football thing, but I will say I like Michigan in this game, and you won't catch me saying I like Michigan very often, but I'll say it here because I think they're probably the right side in this one. If we can get a -2 or -2.5, I have to take Michigan. I honestly am not sure, like you said. I don't know that we'll see that. I think that Ken Pomeroy has this number a little bit too short. And if you look at some of the others, Bart Torvik has this one at 3.3 for Michigan. So I think 3 or 3.5 is probably more likely what we get in this game because Michigan's going to get bet in this game, and I would think the odds makers know that. So, to me, Purdue is a team that should probably regress to the mean a bit. They won at Michigan State by a point in what was a fortunate win, certainly. The win against Ohio State by 2. Look, Ohio State should have won that game. Purdue won it. Ohio State's a very inconsistent team. I don't think Ohio State's a great team. They're pretty good, but they're inconsistent. I will say this, too. I think Michigan's better than Iowa. So I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, but Iowa's defense is a problem. I know a lot of people have Iowa penciled in as a Final Four team, but I really don't think they're going to get to the Final Four with that defense. So we'll see as we get later in the season, but I think their defense is a problem.
Sounds good. And let me fix that stat from before. Purdue gives up 63% of their points in the paint, which is pretty high for a Big Ten team. That's pretty tall. So good stuff there. And you wonder who's going to be Coach of the Year in the Big Ten. You have so many guys that are candidates here, right? And Juwan Howard has really, really surprised me. He's I stepped right in for Beeline, hasn't he?
Absolutely. I think he probably deserves it at this point.
Yeah, and it might keep shifting because you know how the Big Ten is. They keep just beating each other up, right. And expect more of that throughout the year. But this conference is the lowest in turnover ratio, some of the highest in three-point percentage. You have like 3 to 5 guys that can consistently hit threes on almost every single team, minus your Northwesterns and your Nebraskas. So real excited for more Big Ten play. So fun to watch. Let's move on to the next game here. We have UNC Greensboro versus Chattanooga, Kyle. Right up your alley again. I've got the projected line from KenPom itself being +3. The total on this is 137, and I think that's what the line will be because it's such a under-the-radar type game. Vegas is going to ignore that, and it probably is not going to be bet hard until later, if it gets bet hard. I only have a few things to say about it before I'm going to let you in because you, I'm sure, have a better take on these teams than I do. Chattanooga is the better shooting team at 50.9% effective field goal. Greensboro is at 47%, but Greensboro's better at free throws. Greensboro's better at defense, 97.1 compared to 104.3. inefficiency here. So I actually just through my function, I have it 71-68, which is not far from the spread. I think that's a total of 139 instead of 137. So I'm not that far off, Kyle. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I see that Bart Torvik has this line at +1, so I hope that he's closer to right than is Ken Palm. I'm concerned because, I mean, look, if you follow college basketball, you find an under-the-radar game, they usually put out exactly what the line that Ken Pomeroy has. So, I mean, it's probably going to come out at 2.5 or 3 or something like that. But I like Greensboro in this game. The reason I like Greensboro here, I think Chattanooga is a team that is a good team, and they've been a nice story this year. But I think they're a bit overvalued at this point. If you look at the preseason polls in this conference, what the media thought they'd do and stuff, Chattanooga was not picked to be one of the best teams in this conference. They have been solid, and I think they deserve credit for that. At the same time, they've lost at home to Furman, 77-73. They lost at home to Wofford, 77-59. So when they've stepped up in conference play, they have not beaten those top teams. Greensboro was picked to win this conference. Now, I don't know if they will win this conference. They haven't played quite up to the level that they looked like they could be, but they already did win on the road at Wofford, 84-75. They won at Samford by 24 points, and then again by 12. This is a UNC Greensboro team that is very talented. Isaiah Miller, one of the best players in this conference, certainly, and Wes Miller, the coach, probably the best coach in this conference. I think that he'll probably get a bigger job at some point. So to me, Greensboro is a good look to play on here because I think Chattanooga is a team that's due for some regression. They're shooting 80.3% from the free throw line is Chattanooga. That's unlikely to continue. They shot 70% last year from the free throw line, 68% the year before. Also, they're only giving up 68% from the free throw line. So their quote-unquote free throw defense has been very good. UNC Greensboro, to me, has a higher upside than does Chattanooga. You take a team with more talent, you lay a short number. You take a team that was a preseason favorite that's already lost a couple games in the SoCon. They can't afford to lose another game here because there's plenty of good teams. I think Greensboro is a good bet in this one here on the road, so I will be taking the Spartans here.
All right. Well, look at that, Kyle, with a hard take on an ATS, not a total here. So you got to listen to that when Kyle's betting ATS, man. Great breakdown here. So you got me convinced. I'll be joining you on that one for sure, man. And yeah, Furman's really their team. They're trying to pull back ahead of, right? And I think they're in their sights. So hopefully Greensboro is able to make it happen here. So we'll see what happens here. Let's move on to the next game, Kyle. And, well, Creighton versus UConn +4 is what I have down. The total on this is 138. And this is pretty interesting because both teams have really had some stinkers, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. UConn, without their star, James Bouknight. I'm not sure if I said that correctly or not, but he's their best player. He's been out the last couple games. They lost at home to St. John's in their last game, and I have to take 10 seconds here to say that I lost by half a point in that one. I had the under and foul with 5 seconds left, and they made both free throws. And of course they did. I've taken a lot of tough beats lately. I know you have as well. We want to get that out of our system so that we can have a good finish to the season here in college basketball. And I know it's coming that both yourself and I can get this rolling. So looking forward to that. I know that we've had some strong handicaps that haven't come through. We're going to keep handicapping fully and look for the results to show up. This Creighton and UConn game, to be honest, I think that UConn is probably the best defense in the Big East. They have been so far this year, and they have some really good shot blockers down low. You don't want to try to work into the paint too much against them because they're really good down there. But the thing about this game is Creighton shoots a lot of threes. So Creighton, how are they going to do against a UConn team? I think they'll shoot even more threes than they usually do. Creighton coming off 2 losses in a row. My lean here is to take Creighton and lay the points because I think Creighton's in a pretty good situational spot off those 2 losses. I'm not anxious to lay points against UConn, though, so maybe you have a stronger take on this one than I do.
Somewhat. I think this matchup's really cool because you do have the fast-paced Blue Jays versus the slow-paced Huskies, right? Lightning versus the Thunder here. Both of these teams, man, it's just weird seeing someone lose to St. John's like UConn did. They were winning that game and just blew it, right? And then Creighton coming in is like, I thought the competition with Nova. I'm thinking maybe Creighton overtakes Nova, and then they're losing to Butler, and then at home to Providence. And I saw that game. Providence jumped them, and Providence played some good ball and stayed ahead of them. I considered a live bet on Creighton, and I'm glad I didn't because I wouldn't have got 4 points. So just weird. But this is just one of your great offenses with suspect defense and poor rebounding versus your poor offense, great defense, and good rebounding, right, with UConn. UConn, better free throw shooting team, but not by a ton. But Creighton's better at ball control, only turning the ball over at 15.6% of possessions to UConn's 19.2%. So I think that's maybe where you're going to find your edge in this one. UConn's been that banged-up team, and R.J. Cole missed last game. I don't know what's up with him. And I think, like you said, Boo Knight is missing the last 3 games, and I don't think he plays this game either. So that's really going to hurt the rotation. Now, here's where I think the real advantage is if UConn's playing on a small rotation, they better slow this game down because Creighton's going to tire them out. And Creighton's at home. And if that happens, this could be a blowout. So I like the upside for the Creighton, right? Just by pure numbers, I have it 73-68, which is 5 points and not the 4 that I wrote down. And I don't know where the spread's going to be, but I would bet it at 5 here. So my take is I'm most likely betting Creighton here. Now, if it gets past 5, you'll have to wait for my article that comes out on Saturday morning here for college basketball because I won't have a decision if that's the case. But it's all number dependent for this podcast, as people know. But right now, I have a strong lean to Creighton for what I said. Ohio State versus Wisconsin, buddy. We have to talk about it a little. I mean, you're an Ohio State fan. You're going to probably be texting me mean things and everything. And I'm going to Wisconsin. Well, hey, I'll tell you this. I'm a lot more confident when it comes to basketball than football when it comes to my Badgers versus Ohio State. -3 is the projected line. Total is 134. And Kyle, I think that is 100% correct. I think it should be -3. And I think the total probably should be about 134, man. I'll tell you that I have a small lean to Wisconsin, and they do rebound well on defense, terrible on offense. Wisconsin at home has always been a good look. Ohio State has been inconsistent. I wish Ohio State beat Purdue because maybe I would have a play on Wisconsin. They blew that game. They were looking so hot. But at the same time, Ohio State has been pretty good on the road. Any quick thoughts on this?
Yeah, my lean is the under in this game. I think Ohio State shot a little bit better from the field than what they will going forward. I think Ohio State's a decent offensive team, but they're 5th in the nation in adjusted efficiency on offense. I don't think they're that good. So I think Wisconsin's defense will slow them down. Also, if you think Wisconsin will have the lead, which I think could very well happen. I think my lean would be Wisconsin if I had to take a side here, especially if the line's 3. I wonder if it might be a little bit bigger than that, to be honest. But I lean to the under. I think maybe 134.5 or something will probably be about what the line is in this one. Wisconsin has played several really low-scoring games in a row. In fact, they had a 134 against Maryland, 130 against Minnesota. Then they went into double overtime against Indiana. That would have been an easy under. 131 against Michigan, 114 against Rutgers, and 120 against Northwestern. So they've been consistently really low here lately. They've slowed down their pace of play quite a bit here in the conference. I think that probably continues here. And Ohio State doesn't play very fast either. So I'm going to lean to the under for this game.
All right. Well, that's good enough, my man. Maybe we'll have just a money line side bet on this, maybe, right? Because Wisconsin is favored, so why would I not take that?
I don't know about that.
All right, well, let's just move on to the next game because it's a huge game here. Baylor versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, it's projected a 9-point home dog. 147 is the total. And I'll start first on this. I mean, usually the defensive-oriented teams play slow, right? I mean, ask Virginia, ask Texas Tech. Somehow Baylor plays fast and are exceptional on defense. They still rank number 4 in the nation on offense. This team's an anomaly to me. They're undefeated. Their closest game was against Iowa State, believe it or not. The second worst team in the Big 12, Iowa State, right? Apologies to Kansas State right there. But Kansas State's worse. But, I mean, they only won by 7 points. But what's funny is that was their closest margin was 7 points. And they've already had some tough games, right? I mean, I believe that Baylor played Kansas, and Baylor took care of them. And Kansas shouldn't have even had that last 3 at the end. They should have lost by 11, and then they lost by 8. What a crusher that was. And then Texas Tech, they beat by 8, an away game, and then Oklahoma, they manhandled Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's, ranked 26th in the nation. And somehow little Iowa State kept it close with them. Well, it makes me wonder a little bit on this spot. I'm so impressed by Scott Drew, and I'm not even sure if Gonzaga is the number 1 team when I watch Baylor. I wish this game would have happened. Remember we talked about this on Better Odds? I mean, this was going to be such an awesome game, and they had to cancel it for COVID issues. And it was even like I don't even think anyone was sick. I think someone got near someone. I don't remember. But Cowboys, I tell you, I think they're underrated as well. I think, and when I say Baylor's underrated by 1 spot, it's still 2-1. The Cowboys have a stud freshman, and his name's Cade Cunningham. He's like 6'8". He's like a guard. Really hard matchup for anybody. He leads the team in points as well as assists. He also gets a bunch of rebounds. He's going to be motivated himself. He's going to come in and try to upset Baylor. And you wonder if this is another spot where Baylor's asleep, like that Iowa State game. Hard to fade Baylor. I mean, but how can they keep this up is what I ask, Kyle. I mean, they're 4th in 3-point percentage. I mean, they weren't that high last year. Over 42% 3 points. That's just insane, especially with their schedule. What's funny is that both teams actually play fast. The Cowboys rank 40th in seconds per possession. Baylor ranks 58th, like I mentioned before. It's just a fast team that plays amazing defense. So Baylor's got it going on, and I probably will have them in my bracket in the final game and most of my brackets. Gonzaga will be there for some of them as well. But, to be honest with you, this seems like a high total, but I don't think I could bet the under here, Kyle. No. And at +9, I wonder if Oklahoma State gets up, because Oklahoma State, they get up for the big games here. They already beat Marquette after Marquette beat Wisconsin. They beat Texas Tech, and they beat Kansas. Maybe this is just another one of those games that Oklahoma State at home here steps up. So at 9, I think I would make a small play on them and see if Baylor crushes my hopes and dreams. And I don't want to be fading Baylor all year, but this might be the only spot that I do. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Very, very little thoughts on this one. I don't really think I'll bet this game. I would lean to the over. I couldn't bet the under. I think Baylor's so efficient on offense. They've been playing a lot faster this year than they have in past years, like you said. Cade Cunningham, probably the best pro prospect in this game at least, but he doesn't have near as much help as Scott Drew has on his team. Everybody there, I mean, they're a very deep team, really good at offensive rebounding. I think they'll get a lot of second chances against this Oklahoma State team that gives up a lot of offensive rebounds, so I think that could be a real problem. Think I could see this game finishing right around the spread, which also would make me lean toward the over, because a lot of those games that finish 8-9 points, there's a lot of fouling late in the game. So I'll lean to the over. No real opinion on the side.
All right, my man. That's good enough then. Let's see where these numbers come out. I actually have a lean to the over as well because my number is 150 on this. So, and I projected 147, pretty close to a play. Maybe it gets pounded down a little bit. It's because some of those unders have been getting pounded down early, unlike it used to be. So, any final games or thoughts you'd like to discuss?
No, my free play I'll give out is UNC Greensboro that we mentioned earlier. That will be on my premium card this weekend, so you get a premium play of mine for Saturday. So let's take UNC Greensboro and hope that it's -2.5 or something like that, and I think they'll go in and get a road win at Chattanooga.
Great stuff. Where can our listeners get your premium plays and find your information?
You can go to huntersportspicks.com, get my premium plays from there. If you want free picks, you can also sign up for the free picks newsletter there at huntersportspicks.com. If you sign up for the newsletter, you also have an option to get a free premium play by registering for the website. So do that if you haven't already. And also check us out going forward. We're going to be doing the Better Odds videos again. So if you haven't already watched those, tune in to Kiev and I on those.
That's right. And we're going to tweet out a time. We're actually going to have a start time for that as well. So rather than people just sitting there waiting for it or just, not knowing when or if it's going to come, it's going to be consistent all the way through March Madness. And right now we're looking potentially at, I believe, maybe 12 o'clock Central, something like that. So we'll tweet out that to confirm next week. Everybody, make sure you follow Kyle Hunter if you don't already at Kyle Hunter Picks. If you have any questions for the Odds Breakers, please feel free to tweet us at the Odds Breakers. Everyone, have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the NFL games. Make sure you watch some college hoops and go get some winners.